Chris Gibbons, owner of Brass Ring Brewing. Welcome to the podcast. We're so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. So can you walk us through exactly what you do and what your brewery is about?
Brass Ring Brewing Company, founded 6.5 years ago, opened in January of 2018. We have refined and pushed our mission to present the best of English historical brew styles, as well as kind of developing newer takes on English style brewing here at the brewery. So that's kind of our focus. And we couple that with a tasting room that has a warmth and a welcoming attitude, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're really pleased when people come in. They don't have to come here. So we understand that good service and great food and great beer is a great combination. And so we concentrate on that. That is our focus.
Okay. So. How would you say that you include the community with your brewery?
I'm sorry?
How would you say that you are inclusive with the community?
We bill ourselves as a neighborhood brewery. And we're in Alger Heights, which is at Garfield Park on one side of our street and Alger Heights on this side of the street. And so it's a bedroom community in Grand Rapids in the city limits. And, we wanted the brewery to be a part of that community, a place for people to go. I've toured a lot in Ireland. I spent a lot of time there in the past. And
are you from there?
No, my roots are from there.
Okay.
So I went back years ago. I went once and just blew me away. And I have been there 17 times. So I have a dear friend that was there, George. So it was easy to go. He picked me up at the airport, and then we hit the road. Or I take a kid. I have 4 kids, so I take one of my kids. We go. So, or my friends, we go golfing. Back in the day, it was cheap. It was really easy to go. But
things have changed.
Things have changed. It's no longer cheap to go anywhere. But so there was that whole sense of when you were in a small village or town, the pub in Ireland was a very social. You could just tell it was a kind of a place where everybody goes, and a lot like our Cheers on TV.
Yeah.
I guess that's the American version,
yeah.
Where everybody knows your name. And so outreach into our neighborhood and to be a place for the neighbors to come and to share and enjoy what we have to offer and to enrich their lives and give them a little more sense of community in an already great community. And I think that's happened. I know it's happened.
Oh, I've seen it happening.
So we have what we call the 4 o'clock meeting, and that's a bunch of regulars. And we have an individual who had a health crisis, and his wife, and the support that they received from neighbors that they became friends with and met here at the brewery over the years. We're dropping them off dinners, and a few of the guys were going down to see him at the hospital. And it's really kind of moving, because you think if this place wasn't here,
that wouldn't have happened.
They live up on Eastern, and the other guy lives down over here. I mean, the chances that they're going to cross paths and meet each other are kind of remote. I mean, it's not impossible, but with our bar and our brewery and our tasting room, they've developed real substantial relationships here. We had a couple get married that comes down here all the time, and they pulled the pin, and they're older, and so they had their wedding in the front in front of the bar, and they said they only had like 10 or 15 people coming, and the place was packed from all the regulars. So I mean, it's just it's why you do it. It's the things that you can't really put a finger on necessarily in terms of like it's just about more, and I've always found with this brewery, if I make the brewery about more things like that, culture, kindness, acceptance, putting people first, putting service first, before everything else, the rest of it kind of falls in line. And I'm just going to keep pushing in that direction. We have a culture here at Brass Ring that it starts internally with the culture with the staff. They're team members. We're not family.
Yeah.
Because family wants to borrow money, use your car. They want you to move your shit for free.
Yeah.
So we're not family. We don't want to do that, but we are as team members, and we support each other, and we really look out for positivity and um, and teamwork and helping each other. Don't fix the blame, fix the problem, and really any type of just I don't know if I can swear on your podcast.
Whatever you want. It's your podcast.
Well, yeah, we have a no asshole rule, so it's a hard rule, and if you cannot treat other people with respect or dignity, if you think it's fun to tear people down, you're out the door. You're just gone. I mean, we have a zero tolerance for it.
But that's good because you have a reputation to uphold.
Well, yeah, and I just want to work in a nice environment.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
This is my new job, so I spent 35 years as a trial lawyer, and if the judge is an a-hole and you don't like him, you're stuck with that judge until your case is over. If the other lawyer is a jerk, you're stuck with the lawyer. If your client's a jerk, for the most part, you're kind of stuck with your client. So, when we built this, my law partner and I are the ones, Karen.
Yeah.
We just said one of the first things we said is we are not tolerating anyone here. If you can't come in and be happy and be healthy about your behaviors, I mean, I understand we all have real world pressures, but you have to find a place to leave it at the door and just engage and carry on the mission of Brass Ring Brewing. For the 8 hours you're here, take a break from whatever is driving you nuts in your real life. And that goes for me too. I can't. It hasn't always been hearts and flowers. Building a business is a really difficult thing to do. It's challenging, but you got to come in every day, and you have to leave all of that. You have to find a place for it and just move on, so that you can get done what you need to get done. Because your problems are always going to be there; they don't go away.
Yeah, you just have to deal with them.
Just take a break.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how that works. But
so when you started your business, what would you say were some of the challenges that you faced? Our audience is young, aspiring entrepreneurs. So any advice or insight that you can give them is
be prepared for crickets, because you're going to build your stage. So I had to build the brewery, and I thought that was building. I thought, oh, you build a brewery, you open the door, and people come in, and they're going to want to buy your beer, so you make more beer, and that's not really how it works.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of knowledge in business before you started?
No, not really. Well, no. I mean, I ran a law office, but that's a one-man show. That's a totally different thing.
So it must have been quite a transition changing over.
Kind of. I'm a project kind of guy.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I've done other things. So yeah, no, it's different in character, but the skill set's the same, which is basically taking care of people.
Yeah.
The legal field, it's a service. That is service. I mean, you're there to take care of somebody. That's your job, and this isn't any different. Although Brass Ring's my client now, I take care of what Brass Ring is, and what it is the people that are in here, my staff and the guests, and so that charges them differently. But what I would say is like you build all this out, which was a tremendous amount of work. It was a lot of fun. It was a hardcore project. I mean, I was in here 18, 20 hours a day. 4 hours sleep, back at it, and still running a law office with my buddies who helped me build it. I didn't do this by myself.
Yeah.
And we kind of all thought, once we opened the door, it's it. And quickly realized that the building a business is a lot different than building a facility or a place to do business. So this is the stage, right? Yeah. And then and what you hope to act out is your play. And your play is whatever it is you decide to do. What is your point? And so it's opening night, and the curtains open and the place is packed, and you're like, wow.
Here we are.
I'm a playwright, man. And then about 6 weeks later, everybody that wanted to see the show has seen the show, and there's just nobody there. And you had to build your business from that point forward. So you get kind of like a free push. And the guy that I mentored with and who I went to school, I went to a brewery immersion course, and it's called, and so we call it a school, but and Tom Hennessy's the guy that mentored me and gave me a lot of invaluable information and perspective. And he said, basically, you're going to open your doors and you're going to be like, wow, I'm going to Disneyland. And you're going to be like Tom Brady at the end of a Super Bowl. And he says, and then 90 days later, the bottom's going to fall out. And that's when you start working and refining what you're doing and get your practices under control. And he says, if you're doing it right, at least in the brewing space, small brewery like this, brew pub, in 3 years, you'll get back to where you were at when you started.
And have you seen that happen?
And my goal was to do it in a year and a half. And we were almost there when the pandemic hit. So that's why we did like neighbor night. So like I remember looking out the window in February. We opened in January. It was like the end of February. It was kind of gross outside. And 2 guys had just opened at Thornapple. And there's just so many breweries. There are a couple that aren't here we're opening. And I'm just like, somebody's going to get hurt. I mean, everybody has a dream. Everybody wants to do this. But, I mean, there are practical limitations to the market. And so we got proactive. So that started like neighbor night, which was, if you want people to come, you go invite them.
Yeah.
So we divided the whole neighborhood up.
And you're still running that, right?
I'm going. Yeah, when we're done here about 12:30, I'm going to go down to Brooklyn and put the golden tickets on the doors today for Brooklyn. So we don't do it every week anymore. It's too much. It's a lot, and we've been super busy. Or? Yeah. Okay. That, and it can overwhelm the room. So I try to kind of pace things out. But May's going to be busy. We got a lot of requests, and so I was stretching them out. And my partner says, that's kind of shitty. The people ask for it, and they tell me, yeah, you can come in 3 months. So May's going to be a little busier with neighbor nights. That's one of my favorite things to do. Because if people come in, and the saying on the invite is catch up with your old neighbors, meet your new neighbors, and maybe even bury the hatchet. And I just love the idea that they come. I sit at the table. Sometimes it depends. Some of our neighbors are like super friendly, and other ones are a little reserved. So it just depends on where they're at. But I like to sit with them, and then I give them a tour. I tell them what we do, why we do it, talk about the beer, talk about the mission.
I think it's wonderful that you go out and you introduce yourself to all these people, especially even when I come and have dinner over here. You come out and you're like, hi, Kat, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, well,
I think that's lovely.
Well, you're in my house.
I haven't seen that at any other restaurant in Michigan. So props to you for that, because I think that makes a big difference.
Well, I built a brewery to run a brewery. I built a brewery because I wanted to run a brewery.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like it.
And you have a huge passion for it.
It's my jam. We just made 2 beer. Well, we made doubles last week, and we had to make doubles this week. So we've got Danny Whizbang here and Irish Red here. And I mean, that's just, for a little place like this, that's a lot of beer. Yeah.
Are you looking to expand?
No, never.
Never.
No, because, we have a very particular thing that we do here, which is great beer, great food, great service. It's small. The beer is crafty. I mean, it's as crafted as you can get. And it's really simple. But it's made with extreme care. If you look at, I just put up a little video yesterday of my brew day. And there's a picture of the thermometer, and it's at 153. It's right on. And for that beer, 153 is what you want to make that beer good. You mash at 153.
So
that's a sweet spot for that beer. Okay. So that red ale. So like in my mind, and people could argue otherwise, but in my opinion, if that thermometer says 152. That's going to be a decent red ale. Most people won't know the difference, but I firmly believe in my heart that at 153, which is a trick to hit because you're using static vessels and grain at room temperature.
Yeah.
So it takes you have to feel what's going on, and you got to use your parameters and kind of dial it in. But a red ale at 153, I think, can just be spectacular. Like you can have a drink of it and go, wow, man, that was water when I started with that. And
you want to
so,
give the customers the best that you
I want to
can.
give people. No, that's that's the dichotomy of what we're doing. It's a neighborhood brewery, right, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, whatever. But my goal here is that I'm making the best representations of English ales in the country. World-class beer, period.
And you're the only one in the country, correct?
Huh? I think we're the only ones doing certain things. So when it comes to that, I think we're the only brewery that has taken the whole concept of an English ale and an English brewing tradition and tried to take it as far as it can possibly go. So all UK grain, right? You want to have an English ale? Well, shouldn't be making it with grain grown in Canada and malted in Minnesota or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and there isn't anything wrong with domestic products. I mean, none of this is about like what's better or worse. It's just about what makes the most sense. And if your theme is English, the English brewing tradition, then get yourself UK malts, right? Because that's that. And there is a difference to UK malts. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, they perform differently in the brewing process. And then we use house yeast, which is an English ale yeast that we got from a company in Colorado, Brewing Science Institute. And you talk to them, and they kind of put together and they propagate a yeast for you to your parameters. And then that came in June 20th. I looked it up. Of 21, yes, was I ordered a batch of yeast right after the pandemic. I ordered fresh yeast, and that yeast has been running from fermenter to fermenter to fermenter, from batch to batch to batch to batch to batch.
So that's the only one you use?
It'll be, yes, and it'll be 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
Come June 20th. And I should go back and count how many generations that is. It's a ton. But I think that's something that makes us unique. I don't know of any other brewery that I know of that's running a yeast strain consecutively back to back to back and not grabbing something different or grabbing fresh or newly propagated yeast. Yeah. And I had a guy in yesterday who was a big beer dude, and he says, man, he goes, I hate to say this, but I just think your beers are getting better. It's not like they were bad. He goes, but they just keep getting better. And I said to him, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that all of our beers are made with this house strain. So if you think about what we're doing and why it's unique, is there's 4 ingredients in our beer: water, barley, hops, and yeast. That's it. So we don't use any chemicals. So I don't use a kettle defoamer when I'm boiling. I could put a little product in and it would break surface tension, and I don't have to worry about my kettle boiling over. Okay. So I have to watch the kettle. And when it looks like it's going to boil over, we have to turn it off and turn it back on. So it's kind of a pain in the ass. But I don't have kettle defoamer, in my beer. Yeah. And then over here, so I was cleaning the floor when he came in because we had the krausen came out of this vessel into the bucket and then spilled out on the floor. It makes a mess. But that's beer loss. Okay. So that's because the yeast are in there jumping around. It's like a rave. It's 2000 all over again. They're having a big party. And then they create foam, and that comes out, and that results in beer loss. So you can avoid that with firm cap. So, but we don't do that. So nothing wrong with firm cap. It's awesome. Everybody uses it. I think we're probably the only ones that would be dumb enough not to. So, because I do lose a fair amount of beer. I lose 5 gallons a batch. So over, 250 batches, that's a lot of beer. But so you take that, and then you couple that with the idea that we're using all UK grain for the hardcore styles. We're using the same yeast, and we're using So from a brewing perspective, of the 4 things that are available to me, hops, grain, water, and yeast, 2 of them are the same in every beer, water and yeast.
Yeah.
So that means whatever you're going to do with your beer, you've got to do it with grain, you've got to do it with hops, or you have to do it with the brewing process. So changing the times and the temperatures and the durations, the steps of brewing are involved in.
Yeah.
So letting your wort cool to get a juicier presentation on your hops. So you spin it for an extra 17 minutes. Will give you a juicier hop presentation on the beer. Or like I was saying, like these temperatures in this mash tun to me are absolutely critical. So, you want a summery kind of like lawnmower beer, you're gonna mash it like maybe like 149. 148. I mean, whatever we decide.
Yeah.
Or you can change your fermentation temperature. So let your yeast do a little more work or a little less work in terms of contributing to beer flavor. So there's just a lot of things that you can do to get all kinds of variety out of beer without necessarily reaching for a box of syrup or a different yeast strain. So it's kind of a very narrow thing that we're doing. So I think. And then we have cask ale, which is a whole nother jam. I just think we're doing something that's very unique. And it isn't always apparent. Like if you're not like a beer person, you would walk in and look at our menu, you wouldn't see any of it. Because it's pretty subtle.
There's so much other stuff too.
It's pretty subtle.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm talking to you.
So
I could tell you why it's so fucking great.
So I would love for you. I know that a lot of people in the world, they know about beer, right? Everybody knows about beer, but they might not know the difference between real cask ale beer and a normal beer. Yes. So would you mind telling them what I did?
So cask ale. So cask ale is the historical. So I like to say it is the historical presentation of beer. So it is beer that is finished. So this beer will be done in a week, and then what we'll do is there's some empty firkins there. We will put beer into these firkins. That's a cask. Okay. And then we'll send the rest of it downstairs into a vessel, serving vessel, where it'll be force carbonated and served as a draft beer. So that's your draft beer. So draft beer is modern. Draft beer uses all the advantages of modern brewing equipment and bar service equipment. So, right? So forced CO2 and pressurized lines, so that's how that works. But cask is how beer was handled for centuries, literally centuries, before the advent of electricity and the use of pressurized gas, the development of CO2 in a cylinder that you could drive around and load up a tank in somebody's bar or brewery tasting room. So that's what that is. And then it served at cellar temp because there was no refrigerators. It really wasn't that long ago if you think about it. So, I mean, electricity really didn't happen until the Great Depression in America, which was in the 30s, as a civil kind of recovery program to get everybody electricity in the country. So before 1930, really anywhere in the world, anywhere in the United States, if you walked into a bar, you got a cask ale. And so they didn't have pressurized gas like taps like we have now. They have beer engines. So if you look at movies or TV shows, they have historical accuracy with the serving beers. So like Django Unchained, the guy's in there he's got a beer engine. Or the ESB is Danny Whizbang, that's from Peaky Blinders. Yeah. So the Peaky Blinders, they all do it. They do the bitters, right? They're pulling them on a beer engine and at the pub there. So that's kind of the same thing. That's exactly what it is. So it's really the oldest trick in the book, but for us it's new because
no one does it anymore.
Because it almost it's all but disappeared in America, and the whole idea of cask mark is in England and in the UK is to preserve the tradition of traditional English cask ales. And so
is that your mission as well?
My mission is just to make really cool, awesome beer that just makes you, that that blows you away. And if you see a real cask ale like we have here, they're beautiful. They're artwork, and it's art in a glass, and they look delicious, and they're creamy on the top, and there's just nothing like it. And I think it speaks for itself. So a lot of times, people don't necessarily know exactly what it is, but they know that they like it, and they know it's different than anything they've seen, and it's more attractive. And the head retention on a cask ale is a lot longer. So, that's a big thing for me. Is I always want my beer to have at least some appearance of a head on the top. It should follow it all the way to the bottom. It's served at like 52 degrees, cellar temp, no refrigerators. And then an easy way to really understand cask ale and kind of put it in a context is most people know what a nitro is, a nitro pour. So nitro is fake cask ale. So the whole idea of the nitro pour is to replicate the fine bubbles that you get with a cask and that thick head, that creamy head, and the little cascading. So like if you ever see them pull a Guinness, right? So it has the CO2 rolls at the bottom.
But it's not the original deal.
No, that's done with conventional draft equipment.
Okay.
So, and with a nitro spigot and special gas to get that effect. But you can get that effect by just using the real deal.
Real deal.
But there's a little more work involved, so maybe not. But so that's how
So that's what sets you apart from your competitors or any other beer company.
So far, knock on wood, it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like it.
I see the people that they walk in here and they just love it, whether it's your food or your beer.
So, thank you. We're working hard.
Yeah, we can see it.
Take it. So, yeah, and the staff. I mean, I don't. They're the ones that do it. I'm just.
You're all a part of it.
I'm the one that charts the direction and tries to make sure that it all gets done humanely. So, that's the goal.
No, that's lovely. So I want to backtrack a little bit. You said that your mentor had given you some advice where after 6 weeks of having a business, the bottom falls off.
Yep.
When that bottom fell off, what were your strategies that you did and took in place to get your brewery back up?
You just have to be single-minded and you have to be focused and you can't get discouraged. I mean, we had nights here literally where I'd look at my partner and go, we could have just had a yard sale and made more money. There were some really slow days.
Tough days.
So one is you say, okay, fine, it's slow, big deal. That's the way it goes. It's going to change, but it's not going to change if you walk around counting the money and worrying about it, or counting the lack of money and worrying about it. So what you do is you just make sure that every person that walks in that door gets the best experience you can possibly give them, so that they'll come back. And that's how we've handled growing our business. We don't have a huge marketing budget. I think a couple $100 for Facebook, or now it's Instagram boosts. Yeah. That's it.
Do you do all of it?
I do all of the social. So.
But you do like Facebook ads and Instagram ads.
I boost my posts. That's
okay.
It. So the ads get too expensive. I'm a notorious tightwad, so I don't like to spend money. So I would say that from my perspective, the way we built this, we wanted to build the business is build it the right way, which is one guest at a time, and word of mouth is the best advertising you can get. Yeah. And return business and loyal customers is the best business you can get. And you can't buy that. You can't billboard for that.
This is the experience they get while you're here.
You have to come here.
Yeah.
And when you come in, and if you like it, you'll come back. And if you come back, eventually I reach a point of critical mass. But it's a long, slow ride, and you have to be patient, especially with our beer. I mean, when we opened, everybody that came in was looking for especially back like then, breweries were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So like somebody in Cleveland or Ohio somewhere made a beer out of Lucky Charms cereal around St. Patrick's Day. People were like lined up around the corner to get it. And all over the place, and they're on national news for it. And breweries in town making beer with gummy worms, making beer with donuts, making beer with whatever. And that's cool. But that's not my jam. My jam is this. And
the real deal.
And so people would come in and they go, well, where's all the weird flavors? Where's all the experimentation? And I'm like, I'm not here to reinvent beer. It's not I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to work really hard on making you the perfect red ale or the perfect brown ale. And there is a market for that traditional beer, and I think more people like it than they. The thing about it just tastes good, and you want to drink more of it because it's palatable. A lot of times, like that Lucky Charm beer. Are they making that beer now? Probably not.
Yeah, it was probably a one-time deal.
A lot of them are. Oh yeah. I didn't want to be chasing the next flavor, the next beer. It's just that didn't appeal to me. So I'm really proud of the fact that we've been open 6.5 years. We opened with Rocksteady Brown Ale, Liquid Spirit Porter, 8-pound Hammer Stout, Golden Ticket Golden Ale, Wild Red, Wayfarer was on the menu, and Danny Whizbang, the ESB. So 7 of the 12 beers that we opened with are still here. We haven't stopped making them. And so, it's just, you have to have some tenacity for what you're doing. You have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to be able to share with people why it means something. And you can't get distracted. I mean, one of the things we did a lot when we were early starting was we did a lot of event stuff. So we, music bingo and open mic nights and bands. We tried jazz.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh my! I'm a jazz nut. So
yeah. I like jazz too.
I was listening to the new Ting Ball Trio album on the way over here. I'm down on jazz, huge. And so we had these young talented kids coming in, and my son likes jazz, and we're sitting, and my buddy lad from college, he's a big jazzer, and we're having the time of our lives. And the room is just, I literally watched an 8-top come to the door, see the jazz band, and turn around. You literally had people get up and walk out on the jazz.
Because of jazz.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And then we got some jazz people started coming in, like a jazz society, and they were really old. They just drank ice water and
wanted to listen to
lemonade.
Oh,
they came to listen to the music. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to drink beer and buy food. So we learned our lessons on the jazz, and then we did the pandemic. And in the pandemic, we were closed inside. So everything went to takeout, and then we had our shanties in the winter and outside. So we had outside seating by winter time. And when we got the thing, we were fairly, I thought we handled the pandemic fairly well. It was not really, it obviously drastic. I had let most of my staff go.
Yeah.
But it impacted us. I would never say I didn't want it. I wanted it to happen, or it was good. But we found a lot of people with takeout that we would not have found otherwise, and I think we really increased our footprint during the pandemic. But the way we did it was with our beer. We developed our neighborly IPA and gave a piece of that to the kids' food basket and give back in troubled times. We're like, you know what? We can take care of other people too, and we can take care of you. And people needed comfort food and beer more than ever. The pandemic sucked, and then, and so it really became apparent to me that the more we were doing what we do, the better we were doing. And so when we reopened, we made the decision we're going to see how far we can go without the events, because the events cost money. The music bingo,
people. Yeah,
they don't come in and do that for free, and then you got to give. Everybody thinks at the end of the day, your business is dollars. It's dollars and cents. So and
if it's generating money or not.
And it's not like, you know, when you have, it's not like, I mean, this place does really well, but you know, when we were growing the business, every dollar counted. So 120, you know, they would just casually go, well, can you give us three $50 gift cards for the prizes? I'm like, dude, that's $150.
Yeah.
So, you know, $5 a beer at the time, you know, that's 30 beer, whatever it is. 150 divided by 5 is 30, right?
30, yeah, 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those people's rounds right there, first round, all just went to prizes. That doesn't even include your fee. And then half the room doesn't want to hear your contest.
Yeah.
So they're kind of annoyed, so they don't stay for the extra beer. And then the events sometimes just draw people that are there for the event, which is really where I started to philosophically start to have an issue with the events. Okay. Because I'm like, you know, we're in the brewery here working hard and diligently and grinding it out and doing everything we can do to produce the best possible beer we can give people. And my staff, they're here early, they keep the place clean, they get their work done, they start serving, they work really hard to get beer to people in a timely fashion and give them a great experience and explain it with some enthusiasm what it is we do so that they feel good about being here. And then in the back, you know, they're killing themselves to get that food out on time. Our wait times are not, I mean, it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes for, you know, not you know, that's real work. I mean, that's real dedication from the people that are back there to get the processes down and to take care. And I'm thinking, okay, so wait a minute. So the beer isn't enough for you. You know, just say your hypothetical event guest that you're going to draw because of the event. So the beer isn't enough, the food's not enough, and the service isn't enough. And so the deal maker for you is Harry Potter questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
if Harry Potter questions is if somebody else's talent is what's facilitating me, at some point I just thought we're going to see how far we can go without having to do events. And so we haven't done an event since the pandemic.
So did you change strategies or you just cut out events
No,
and
just
carried
cut them
on
out.
focusing on your
no, screw it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep making it as good as you can make it every fucking day. That's how you do it.
Yeah. Did you always have the core values of those when you started your brewery? Have you always had them? Have your core values changed over time?
No, it's surprisingly the same. I'm really kind of stunned.
That's a good thing.
I got really lucky. I didn't have to learn a lot of hard lessons. Tom Hennessy helped out a lot with that. And then I had a service manager, Rayanne, who had been in the service industry for a long time, and she was out, and she used to wait tables at a place that we really enjoyed going. So that's how we got to know. We met her, and so when we were getting ready to open, I heard wind and that she was back in town. And in between things, I said, "Hey, do you think you could come in and help me get the front of the room going?" And she said, "I will do this for you. I will come. I will be there. I'm leaving." So we opened January 18th. She said, "I will be done April 1st." And I'm like, "That's cool." So she really got us off on the right foot at the front. And we've done a lot of research. We had been to a ton of breweries. I mean, so like whenever we went, my partner and I, whenever we went on the road for a case or a vacation or whatever, it was brewery. And one of the things that just annoyed the absolute shit out of me is you take the time to go to somebody's brewery, you walk in the door, and then you stand there. And you stand and you stand there. And then it's like, hey, we were so excited to be here. You just could care less.
Yeah.
So, but putting that into practice is not easy. You have to train yourself. So we had to learn all of that. Rayanne was really good at that. She would come up and just start yelling at us. So
good problems.
Yes. So yeah, you just have to learn what it is, you know, and you know, I love service. I love taking care of my room. I love the pre-bus. You know, I like to get the table clear for people so they can relax, so they don't feel like all, you know. Um, and you know, my successful team members, you know, they understand service first, and so that's been the key to a lot of this. But you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. If you can't talk for an hour about why you're doing what you're doing, don't you're not ready to do it yet, or find something else to do. Because like you could get me literally going on beer, and I could put you to sleep. So, or any aspect of this business, actually, I love all of it. But it was really hard. I mean, there were, you know, that first year was brutal. I would go home at night, so I was still working in the law office. So I worked literally 100 hours a week or more every day, no time off. And I would go home and watch. My idea of comfort TV was watching Lord of the Rings on my phone.
Girl loves Lord of the Rings.
To watch, yeah, just to see poor Frodo and Sam suffer carrying that ring to Mordor. And my wife was like,
I can do it.
Like after a month, she was like, "Why do you keep watching that?" And I said, "It makes me feel good because they win, and I want to win.
Yeah.
I really want to win, and I want my brewery to be great." And and I'm just going to keep going because I've not gotten to where I need to go. But you know, and you have to know why you're doing what you're doing, and then you have to be doggedly determined. And you can't let that in your head that it's not going to work, because then it won't work. But you also have to understand, like, if you're going to build a business, like, one thing I didn't understand is like that was the end of my life.
The end of your life.
That was the end of my life. Yeah, I have a second life. This is my new life.
Okay, I see.
So I didn't ride. So I rode a bike. That was my big hobby. I had a nice life. I was a lawyer. I worked like from 9 to 5, and I would go ride my bike after work, or I could go at lunchtime and go for a quick spin, or play golf, go on vacations. I just took all that for granted. But I opened the business. That was the end of that. That was the end of that.
So what do you think the benefits of owning a business is compared to 9 to 5?
If you don't really want to fucking do it, and if it doesn't light you up like a Christmas tree, don't do it. Don't do it.
Stay in the 9 to 5.
I'm not kidding.
So you would advise people to stay in the 9 to 5?
I would say this: if the idea of having a business doesn't light you up like a Christmas tree every minute, don't do it. If you're not, I mean, I'll be really frank. You're not going to see your friends. You're not going to see your family. You're not going to, you know, I struggle with this because for me, it's just where I'm at, and it's how I'm kind of wired. You know, I was prepped for it as a trial lawyer. When you're going to trial and it's a capital case, like somebody's going to go to prison for the rest of their life, if this gets fucked up, you go into your office and you don't come home for weeks. That's just how it is. Because if you fuck it up, they're going to prison for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And then you have to deal with the aftermath if it gets wrecked. If it doesn't work out, it's not like you walk out of the courtroom and oh well, that could have gone better. You know, I mean, it follows you emotionally, mentally, and practically, the reality of appeals and everything else. So I was used to turning things off. But if you're going to build a business, you're going to turn it off, and you're not going to turn it on for a long, long time. And that literally means like, no, I can't go to grandma's birthday. Yeah, see ya. Gotta go.
Yeah, and they sometimes really can't understand.
Yeah, if you have kids, don't do it. You cannot.
So how old were your kids when you started?
They were out of high school, so I was 50. I was 50 when I decided to do it, and I was 50 going on 52 when I started the building and started building. Okay. So, but from that point forward, and I mean it, you know, it took it, you know, it's just a different life. Yeah. So I used to be like the party king. So I love to have gatherings at my house. But see, I've always liked to do this kind of stuff. This stuff is fun to me. And I would have big parties, elaborate parties. And I had my last big jam was here at St. Patrick's Day in 2017. And so this place was still the Dairy, whatever, the Dog King,
Dairy Queen
ice cream, hot dog shop. I mean, it was just so. So I had homebrew in a refrigerator, and all my friends came, and we all had a good time. And that was the last party I had until this year. I'm living in I bought a firehouse last summer, so with my partner. So I had a party in my space at the firehouse, and so I did have some of my old friends, and I had a lot of my new friends, and it was nice because I'm trying to claw back some of my life.
Yeah. Do you feel that you've lost a lot of it?
No, I haven't lost a fucking thing.
Okay.
No, I'm really doing great.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying whatever that was is over.
Yeah,
it's just a chapter in your life. I mean, like when you have little kids, they're like awesome, and then they grow up and they're a different kind of awesome. But you know what I mean? That was a moment in time. Did I lose my kids because they can't run around and jump on my lap anymore? No, I didn't lose my kids, but my kids changed, and my life changed, and it's just another season. And I wouldn't trade any of this for the world, but I would say to people that if you're not willing to basically cut it, if you're not willing to, you have to be willing to come. You saw me in here today mopping the fucking floor.
Yeah. On Monday, when you don't work, right?
I'm the most overqualified floor mopper in the country. But I like my floor to be clean. I want my brewery to be clean. Yeah. And we're finally to the point we're doing. I've hired a little helper who's coming tomorrow. Okay. So he just started last week. He's going to be the keeper of the ring.
Sweet. So I'll give you some time to breathe, just a little bit.
Well, I can't. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do a little business like this, you're going to end up doing. The reality is you're going to do it almost all yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, so like I was going to say, like one of the struggles I have now is we are really busy, fortunately, and it's taxing the staff, and I don't want to be like we've always said. If industry is a dirty word here, if you say, well, it's that's the industry or industry standard. I don't do industry. I do brass ring, and so like asking people to work doubles. I don't like to do that. I really try to. I don't do it for myself, but I really try to protect work-life balance for the people that are here.
Because you're trying to take care of
this is my jam.
Yeah.
It's not their jam. It's their job. And they bring a lot of passion to it and a lot of energy, or it wouldn't happen. But I don't want to abuse that either. And so it's we're trying to find some more help.
Yeah, especially.
But we don't really have a trouble. But we've skated through all of this. I mean, we're adequately staffed. I just got 2 weeks to go because I have some college kids coming back.
Oh, good.
And that will take all of the heat off the front of the room, and in the back of the house we're still pretty solid.
So, in your own words, what would you say what does an entrepreneur mean to you? What does that word mean?
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Yeah, sorry, my accent.
Well, there's two kinds of entrepreneurs. Depends on what kind you want to be. The one that actually builds and develops a business and gets to work. I mean, if you can't wash the windows, if you don't think you should be sweeping the floor, you're a joke to me. Yeah. I wouldn't take you seriously. If you think you're going to run around and talk about ideas, I mean, I guess you can be like Marcus Lemonis.
Who's that?
He's a guy on MSC. He had The Prophet. Did you ever see that show, The Prophet?
No,
he would go in. Oh, I used to watch that too. And I actually liked him. But I just think, but I'm just a different person. I just have a different idea about how I want to do it. I like to physically do things. I like to produce things. I like to make it. I like to take something that's dirty and make it clean. I like to take water and turn it into beer.
So is it the result that drives you?
Yes. Yeah. Pretty much. Okay. Yeah.
So lastly, before we head off, my last question to you is, what would your 3 top tips be for a young entrepreneur who wants to open up a business?
You get ready to work. You're ready to work. You're ready to work. And make sure, really pay attention to what people are saying, and more what they're saying, pay attention to what they're doing.
Because actions speak
Well, I
louder
mean,
than
one of
words.
my biggest advantages was coming with a legal background, especially with, we live in a very regulated,
Society.
it's a hyper-regulated society, in my opinion. But making sure that you're crossing your T's and doing your papers and filing your reports, watching your money, and watching people that will sign you into adhesion contracts where, like, you're stuck with them for 36 months, and if they do a shitty job and you want to go get somebody else, then they tell you owe them $3,500 for a cancellation fee or whatever. So there's just so many aspects of, like, of operation, if you're on the if it's your business and you're in charge. I mean, you just wear a lot of hats. And then once you can find somebody that can wear one of your hats, let them wear it and leave them alone, and just let them do what they're going to do, and have the faith, and try not to micromanage, which I'm horrible at. So, which is why I still continue to do most of everything. But yeah. So, but overall, it's when it works. Like last night, we had a fantastic week, and the second week of April, off the chain. I mean, went home and had a beer and just listened to some jazz and thought, this is pretty good. So, and then you hear the stories about nice things that happen in your brewery, people, engagement, and that makes it worthwhile. Or even your staff, little triumphs with the staff. So.
Well, Chris, thank you so much. You've given us so much insight into business.
I don't know.
You really have, and I really appreciate
I don't know about that, but
really appreciate.
I do talk a lot.
No, that's perfect. That's why we're here, right?
If you're an entrepreneur, talk a lot. You can't talk about your business. Nobody else is gonna.
Well, we might have to do a second one. Well, thank you very much, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you here.